money is of critical importance to all of us. It is a tool to help us get to the life that we need. And one of the things that really built my relationship with money is budgeting. It's not something I learned growing up. It's not something that I did willingly ever. My husband and I started budgeting when we decided to get serious about our financial lives and put ourselves on a path to be financially secure. We started budgeting in 2017 and have done a budget every single month since then. And I don't think I could live without it at this point. My name is Rachel, and this is Designed Resilience, the corner of the internet where we talk about building daily habits and practices in 5 different areas so that you have the resilience you need when things are amazing, because that takes stamina, or when things are really hard, because you need a foundation to hold you up. And in today's conversation, we're going to talk about the impact of budgeting on my life and my husband's life in the daily habits around financial stability, which is one of the areas that I think is critical to building resilience little by little every single day. So when we first started budgeting as a couple, we were in the Dave Ramsey Baby Steps class, and it was the 3rd class or so, I think. They don't start you right off with budgeting. It's something you ease into. And they told us a couple of things that made the process a little less intimidating. They said, number 1, it's going to take about 3 months to get it right. And that is something that I've experienced in the past when I've tried to create budgets on my own, is that the very first time I did it, it was wrong completely, because I had forgotten to account for certain expenses. I underestimated expenses. And so I just gave up, because I was like, well, I can't do this right. And nobody had set the expectation for me that it takes about 3 months to get it right. So that was helpful going in. And then, of course, any financial teacher that you follow will provide templates, worksheets. There are even apps. Sometimes banks will help you understand your income and spending so that you can sort of understand your patterns, which is where budgeting starts. It starts from your patterns. And so the first time that we did a budget, knowing that it wasn't going to be right, but that we had to start somewhere, we did a budget on paper using a worksheet provided through the Baby Steps class. And we realized that while our life had been seemingly flowing along just fine, we were actually underwater. We were not making more than we were spending every month. It just happened that we got paid on a regular cadence. And so we always had the money we needed to pay the bills and expenses that we had at the moment. But if you looked at a month in total, we did not actually make more than we spent. And that was incredibly humbling. I remember my husband grabbed my hand and he was like, just take a deep breath. We can't fix anything until we understand it. And this was our first step into understanding our actual position. Now, the reason that we came to that conclusion is because we were using a budgeting practice called zero-based budgeting. That means that every dollar that comes in has a job. So we're taking every dollar that comes in from our income and putting it into a zero-based system. So even if our bills don't use all of our income, those dollars are assigned to rainy day funds, emergency funds, savings, investing. Every single dollar that comes in has a job. That's not the only way to create a budget. There are lots of different ways to plan your spending, but that's the one we were using, which is how we knew that we had more month than money consistently. Another setup that was helpful from the class was focusing the idea of a budget as a spending plan as opposed to a restrictive tool. That was another reason I had failed in the past of budgeting, is because I wanted the ability to make choices with my money. I didn't want to be told what to do with the money I was working for, because I had often had more than one job at a time. So I was working really hard and I wanted to have say over when and how I spent my money. And so reframing a budget as a spending plan where I was telling every single dollar that came into the house what to do and gave it a job, whether that was pay bill, save, spend on eating out or something fun, investing, all of that helped me reframe what the tool actually was, that it wasn't a chart to tell me how terrible I was with money. It was a plan so that I could actually spend my money on what I wanted because I knew that all of my bills were taken care of. So over time, we evolved from that paper worksheet to an online budget, and we now have a 5-tab spreadsheet in Google Sheets that we create a new one every month. We clear out the data from the previous month and we start over every single month. The 5 tabs are the month at a view, where we can see everything that's going to come in and come out over the month. So that's the whole thing. And that lets us know for our zero-based budget where every dollar is going to go in the course of a month. The next tab is called an allocated spending plan. And that is where we associate bills and expenses with every paycheck. So that I know that the paycheck that comes in on this date is going to pay these bills and these expenses. And then the rest of the month is going to be paid by the second paycheck of the month. And then if you get paid every other week, 2 months a year, you get an extra paycheck, which is nice. So you can calculate where all those dollars are going to go. The third tab is for tracking unexpected or unplanned expenses because they're going to happen. You might have a birthday party to go to this month, or you might have an unexpected car repair, or you bought more groceries than you budgeted for. And so you need a place to track that. That's not going to be in the plan. So we have a whole tab that's just for expenses that we didn't expect, we didn't budget for, but that happened. That way we can make sure that we are aware of our habits. And over time, we can correct the budget. That's why it takes 3 months to get a good one, because you're going to have expenses that you didn't budget for that are regular or that are part of your lifestyle that you need to put in there. So like I have my nails in my budget because it's part of my lifestyle. I'm going to get them done. And so I need to factor for that in my budget. The fourth tab is our envelopes system. So when we were first paying off our debt, to make sure that we did not overspend on certain categories like gas, groceries, taking care of our dogs, taking care of the car, things like that, we used actual physical envelopes and we put cash in the envelopes. And once that envelope was empty, you couldn't spend any more until you got another paycheck to put more cash in. We've gotten good in our discipline. So now those are accounts online. So we track our spending against each of those envelope accounts so that we can make sure that we stay on track with what we're planning to spend for groceries, for restaurants, for gas and things like that. The fifth tab is about our net worth, which is something that we did not track initially, but it is, companies call it a balance sheet. It's our assets versus our liabilities. So the things that we own versus the things that we owe, so that we have not just a month snapshot of our financial situation, but we have the overall picture. And so we update those every month and track our spending, and it's become something that I don't think I could live without. I think I need to know and plan and have that rhythm. So we've been doing it, like I said, since 2017, almost 10 years now. Next year will be 10 years that we've been budgeting every single month. And the things it's done for me, one, it has helped me see the actual completion of financial goals. When we were paying off our debt, it felt like, sure, we were making progress and sure, we were adjusting our habits. But by budgeting, I could see the actual extra payments we were making on our debt and could calculate how much faster we were going to pay it off than if we just paid minimums. That was really helpful and motivating, because if you're just doing something towards an unclear end, it can be very easy to get demotivated. It can be very easy to get demoralized. But by budgeting and by knowing how much we were putting against our debt every month and watching that number grow and watching our number of amount of debt go down, budgeting helped me see the end of the tunnel. And that was so helpful. Budgeting has helped me over the years see our progress, how we have been able to have more discretionary money over time. How when we started, we were getting $20 each every 2 weeks, and how that has changed dramatically over the time. How our spending trends have changed over the years, because I have all those budgets. So we have the paper ones in a file and the digital ones are online, and we can see, when we finally paid off our debt and how our distribution of income changed. And it also helps me not be surprised by finances. So because we have budgeted our 6-month car insurance premium, I don't forget when that's going to happen. So I'm not surprised by a big withdrawal from our account, because 6 months is a long time and you probably forget when you're going to renew that bill. Or we pay our cell service quarterly. I don't forget that because I have a budget. Or annual expenses that, like maybe for memberships or subscriptions or things. I don't forget that because it's in the budget. Also, it helps me not overcommit financially. So if I know that, this month we have a couple of extra bills that are coming up that aren't every month bills, then I don't get carried away going shopping, or I don't plan a trip and pay for the flights and hotel at that time, because I know what's coming and I can be prepared. And so while the numbers in the budget are not always what I wish they were, sometimes I wish there was more money in a certain section of the spending plan. I know what I'm working with, and that makes me feel a lot more confident. And I can see the progress I've made month over month over month, and that my husband and I have the goals that we have achieved. So if you're not a budgeter, I highly recommend it. It changed our financial lives and has given us stability where we didn't have it before. But I will offer you the lessons that I was offered. One, it's going to take about 3 months to get it right. You're going to miss things that are normal, and that's okay. Just keep practicing. You want to look at your spending plan a couple of ways. One is the month overall, all that you're going to spend versus all that you take in. And a way that you can find this information is looking at your previous statement. So we usually go back 3 months when we're going to assess our budget to see if it's still accurate. Is we'll look at 3 months of statements, categorize our spending, and our bank app does that, puts it in categories for us, and look at what the budget says versus what we're actually doing. And sometimes we need to true up. So you want to look at it as a whole, and then you want to, once you get that whole picture, you want to break it down into paycheck assignments so that you have another view that shows you when you get the first paycheck of the month, these are the bills and expenses that come out of it. And when you get the second paycheck of the month, these are the bills and expenses that come out of it. And then the third view is that stuff we didn't plan for, because it needs to be documented so you have it all in the same place, but it's okay. And you want to call out that, oh, we went over in this part of our spending plan, or that was an expense we forgot about, and that kind of stuff. And just keep at it. It's a practice. It's something that you build a relationship with, just like a person. And I think you'll be surprised at some of the beliefs that come up as you're doing it. That definitely was part of the financial stability journey for us, is every month getting in there and looking at it and having the conversation and really tracking what we're actually doing. But because of that practice, I know that there's a time and a grounding for every month's worth of money that's going to come in and out of our house. And it's been so helpful. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you found it helpful, would you like the video? Drop me a comment about your perspective of budgeting, or consider subscribing to the channel. And we'll see you next week.